Meroë Capital of the Black Pharaohs. Long before Rome ruled the world, and as Egypt's power began to fade, a great capital rose south of the Nile. Meroë, the heart of the kingdom of Kush and the seat of the so-called Black Pharaohs. For centuries, Meroë was dismissed as legend. Then archaeological discoveries changed everything. Dozens of pyramids steeper and more numerous than those of Egypt, temples dedicated to African and Egyptian gods, royal palaces, iron smelting furnaces, and tombs carved with forgotten symbols emerged from the sands of Sudan. Ancient manuscripts Greek, Roman, and Nubian describe the rulers of Kush as powerful kings and queens, masters of astronomy, metallurgy, and sacred ritual. Meroë did not merely imitate Egypt, it challenged it. Kushite pharaohs once ruled Egypt itself, wearing the double crown and restoring ancient traditions along the Nile. One of Meroë's greatest enigmas is its script, Meroitic, a written language still not fully deciphered. Inscriptions on stele and temple walls speak of divine authority, warrior queens known as Candakes, and a bond between royal power and the movements of the heavens. Excavations revealed something even more striking. Meroë was a center of knowledge. Solar alignments, star-related symbolism, and ceremonial layouts suggest the Black Pharaohs believed they were guardians of cosmic order, not just rulers of a kingdom. Why was Meroë erased from memory? Some Roman texts label it a threat. Others reduced it to silence. But the desert could not hide it forever. Today, Meroë stands revealed as what it always was, an advanced African civilization, powerful, independent, and central to ancient history. And according to a fragmented manuscript found near its pyramids, Meroë protected secrets that have yet to be revealed. The story will continue in future chapters. The Code of the Hebrew Bible. For centuries, the Hebrew Bible was viewed solely as a religious text. But in recent decades, researchers, archaeologists, and mathematicians began to notice something unsettling. The text did not only tell stories, it concealed patterns. This phenomenon became known as the Code of the Hebrew Bible. By analyzing the original ancient Hebrew text letter by letter, without spaces, some scholars identified mathematical sequences, structural repetitions, and statistical patterns that appeared too precise to be random. Names, events, and concepts seemed woven into the text itself, as if they had been intentionally encoded. From an archaeological perspective, the Dead Sea Scrolls confirmed a crucial fact. The Hebrew text had been transmitted with extraordinary accuracy for over 2,000 years. That precision made it possible for any internal structure, if one existed, to survive intact through time. This was not a flexible tradition of copying, it was almost mathematical. Some historians argue that the ancient scribes were not mere copyists, but guardians of knowledge. They understood sacred geometry, Hebrew numerology, and basic astronomy. To them, language did not simply describe reality, it organized it. Every letter carried a value, every word a weight, every line a purpose. Here is where political and religious occultism enters the discussion. Certain medieval manuscripts suggest that religious authorities and rulers were aware of these hidden structures and feared their interpretation. To reveal that the sacred text might contain cycles, warnings, or historical patterns could have challenged both spiritual authority and political control. Knowledge, once again, was restricted to the few. This was not magic in the modern sense, but an ancient worldview, the belief that the universe itself is written in code, and scripture was a reflection of that invisible order. For mystical Jewish traditions, the text did not speak only of the past, but of all times at once. Modern science does not claim that the code predicts the future, yet it acknowledges something deeply puzzling. The structural complexity of the Hebrew Bible exceeds what would normally be expected from a purely human work of its era. And that leaves a powerful, uncomfortable question. Was the Hebrew Bible only a book? Or was it also a structured message, waiting for those able to read beyond the words? The story will continue in future chapters. The Ethiopian Bible, the lost canon. For centuries, the world believed it possessed the complete Bible. Yet in the highlands of Ethiopia, guarded by stone-carved monasteries and traditions older than many churches, a different Bible survived. The Ethiopian Bible, known as the Ethiopian Canon, is the oldest and most complete biblical canon still in use today. It contains books removed or rejected by other traditions, texts like Enoch, Jubilees, and the Ethiopian books of Maccabees. These writings speak of fallen angels, watchers, giants, forgotten covenants, and knowledge that existed before the Great Flood. According to Ethiopian tradition, these books were never banned because they were never lost. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church claims it received the scriptures directly from the earliest days of Christianity, untouched by later revisions made in Rome or Byzantium. Ancient manuscripts written in Gizi, a sacred and ancient language, describe a world where heaven and earth were closer, where angels walked among humans, and where divine judgment was announced long before the Book of Revelation. For many scholars, the Ethiopian Bible does not contradict faith, it expands it. It reveals hidden layers of biblical history and suggests that what is now considered forbidden was once sacred knowledge. And the question remains, if these books were preserved for thousands of years, what did Ethiopia know that the rest of the world forgot? The story continues in the next chapters. For centuries, a voice remained silent, buried beneath the sands of the Egyptian desert. It was not written for the crowds, but for those who sought to understand what cannot be seen. That voice is the Gospel of Philip. Discovered in 1945 among the Nag Hammadi manuscripts, this Gnostic text does not recount miracles or familiar parables. Instead, it reveals a dangerous idea: salvation comes not through sacrifice, but through knowledge. Philip describes a different Christ, not only the one who dies on the cross, but the one who awakens consciousness. A teacher who explains that the material world is a shadow and that truth belongs to the spiritual realm. One of its most unsettling passages speaks of Mary Magdalene as Jesus' closest companion, not merely a follower, but someone who understood teachings hidden from the other disciples. This idea planted fear and division within the early church, threatening authority and control. The Gospel speaks of secret rituals, true baptism, anointing, and the bridal chamber, symbols of the union between the human soul and the divine. For Philip, the greatest sin was not disobedience but ignorance. That is why this text was excluded, not because it denied Christ, but because it freed believers from fear. And this is only the beginning. In the next chapter, we will uncover why the Gnostic Gospels were hunted, censored, and destroyed, and how the early church decided which texts would become sacred and which would vanish. Later, we will reveal the true role of Mary Magdalene and the silent war between knowledge and power in the first centuries of Christianity. Because the Gospel of Philip is not just an ancient manuscript. It is a warning. Some Gospels were proclaimed, others were buried, but once knowledge awakens, it never sleeps again. The Haggadah of Jesus Christ, the hidden codex of medieval Spain. In medieval Spain, where Jews, Christians, and Muslims lived side by side under the growing shadow of the Inquisition, a book circulated in silence. It was not a gospel. It was not a Bible. It was a Haggadah, illuminated and hidden. Its pages did not recount the life of Jesus as official history, but as teaching. Every image, every symbol, was a lesson for those who knew how to see. The Codex portrayed Jesus not as a king or a judge, but as a teacher of the inner path. In its miniatures, Jesus breaks bread not only to feed bodies, but to awaken consciences. The light around him does not descend from heaven, it rises from the human heart. The scribes who copied the Haggadot's secret monks and Jewish converts used the ancient language of symbolic narration. Short stories, visual parables, questions without answers. Because true teaching does not impose, it awakens. One illustration shows Jesus walking among 3 different peoples, rejecting none of them. Another depicts him washing the feet of his disciples, beneath an inscription that reads, "Whoever understands service, understands the kingdom." The Haggadah teaches that the true legacy of Jesus was not power, law, or the sword. It was conscious compassion, inner freedom, and responsibility of the soul. That is why it was hidden. In a time when faith was watched and thought was punished, this codex survived as many truths do. In fragments, in images, in whispers. And here, the search begins. In the next chapter, we will explore which symbols from the Haggadah of Jesus appear in real medieval Spanish manuscripts, and how some of its imagery may have influenced Christian art without leaving written traces. Because some books were not made to be read, they were made to be understood. The Haggadah of Jesus does not command. It does not threaten. It only reminds us who we are, and who we may become. For centuries, the Gospels remained silent about a troubling period, the lost years of Jesus. Between his childhood and his public ministry lies a gap, and within that gap, some traditions look toward Asia. Ancient accounts from India, Persia, and the Himalayas speak of a foreign sage young and austere who debated with Brahmins, walked alongside monks, and taught compassion, detachment, and inner truth. They called him Isa. Not a conqueror, but a seeker. According to these traditions, Jesus may have followed the Silk Road with caravans, crossing deserts and mountains. In Buddhist monasteries, he may have learned the value of silence. In Hindu temples, the idea that the divine dwells within the human being. Teachings that would later echo in his words, "Love your enemy, renounce the ego, awaken the spirit." There is no definitive proof. Only fragments, later manuscripts, local chronicles, and striking similarities between Eastern teachings and the sayings attributed to Jesus. For some historians, it is myth. For others, an uncomfortable possibility never fully explored. When Jesus returns to Judea, he is no longer just a carpenter. He speaks with authority, but without power. He teaches like one who has seen beyond his homeland. And his words, simple yet profound, seem to unite worlds separated by thousands of miles. Perhaps the years of Jesus in Asia are not meant to be proven, but understood. Not merely as a physical journey, but as a symbol, a bridge between cultures, religions, and ways of understanding the sacred. And so, the mystery remains, because sometimes what is not written reveals the most. The story continues in the next chapters. For nearly 16 centuries, an entire library remained silent, sealed inside a clay jar buried beneath the Egyptian sand. No prayers were spoken over it. No eyes read its words. 13 Coptic codices waited in darkness, untouched, until time itself made a mistake. The year is 1945. Near Nag Hammadi, local farmers dig into the earth searching for fertilizer. The strike of a hoe does not uncover gold or weapons, but something far more dangerous: words. Leather-bound books written in a forgotten language, opening with a disturbing line. These are the secret words that Jesus, the living one, spoke. Thus re-emerged the Gospels that never entered the Bible. Texts once read by early Christian communities, copied by desert monks, and hidden when bishops declared anything outside official doctrine to be heresy. Some ordered these writings burned. Others chose to save them in silence. The codices pass from hand to hand. Peasants who fear jinns and curses, traders who tear out pages to sell, scholars who recognize their historical value almost too late. Eventually, they reach the Coptic Museum in Cairo, where trembling philologists encounter a radically different Jesus. Not a judge of the end times, but an inner teacher. A Jesus who does not promise salvation in the future, but knowledge in the present. Who speaks of remembering one's origin, of awakening, of a divine spark hidden within every human being. A Jesus who does not found a church, but calls for freedom of consciousness. The Nag Hammadi manuscripts do not destroy Christianity. They multiply it. They reveal that in the beginning there was not one faith, but many voices searching for meaning. And among them, one voice was silenced for centuries, until the sand itself decided to speak. The story continues in the next chapters. After the death of Jesus, his 12 apostles spread across the known world. They preached, were persecuted, and most of them died far from one another. Yet one question remains: where are the 12 apostles of Jesus buried? History offers fragmented answers. Peter, the closest to Jesus, was crucified in Rome. Tradition holds that he was buried beneath what is now St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. Paul, though not one of the original 12, is inseparable from this story. He was beheaded in Rome, and his tomb is venerated at the Basilica of St. Paul outside the walls. John, the beloved disciple, was the only apostle who did not die as a martyr. He lived to old age and was buried in Ephesus in modern-day Turkey. James the Greater was beheaded in Jerusalem. Centuries later, tradition claims his remains were taken to Spain, to Santiago de Compostela. Andrew, Peter's brother, was crucified in Greece. His relics are associated with Patras, though they were moved several times throughout history. Thomas, the apostle of doubt, carried the message as far as India. Eastern Christian tradition holds that he was buried in Mylapore. Philip is believed to have died in Hierapolis, Bartholomew in Armenia, Matthew in Ethiopia or Persia, and Simon the Zealot and Jude Thaddeus in regions of the Middle East. Of Matthias, who replaced Judas Iscariot, only ancient accounts and disputed tombs remain. And Judas himself? His burial is shrouded in mystery, caught between conflicting accounts and uncomfortable silence. Many of these burial sites are based on tradition, not definitive archaeological proof. Relics were moved, divided, venerated, and also questioned. Yet one truth stands firm: the apostles did not die as powerful men, but as witnesses to a faith they were willing to die for. Their tombs, real or symbolic, map the spread of early Christianity across the ancient world.
From this hill,
the story will continue in future chapters.
A legacy of witnesses. Through centuries, the faith endures.
For centuries, one question has haunted believers, archaeologists, and emperors alike. What happened to the cross on which Jesus of Nazareth was crucified? The canonical Gospels remain silent, but forgotten manuscripts speak of a different fate for the wood of the crucifixion. One of these texts is known as the manuscript of the true wood, referenced indirectly in apocryphal writings and early Byzantine chronicles. According to these sources, after the crucifixion, the cross was not destroyed. It was hidden. The manuscript claims that Jesus' followers feared the cross would become an object of political and religious power. To prevent this, They buried it outside Jerusalem, marked only with symbols recognizable to the initiated. Centuries later, another text emerges, the account of Helena, preserved in early Christian tradition. It tells how Helena, the mother of Emperor Constantine, traveled to the Holy Land in the 4th century. Guided by visions and ancient writings, she ordered excavations at Golgotha. 3 crosses were found, but only one revealed itself, not through words, but through power. According to the manuscript, when the true cross touched a dying person, life returned. Yet not everyone accepted this story. Gnostic texts suggest something more unsettling, that the real cross had already been removed before Helena's arrival. That the cross embraced by the empire was not the original, but a symbol, a replacement. And here, doubt is born. In the next chapter, we will explore which manuscripts were excluded when the cross became an imperial relic, and how Christianity transformed from a persecuted faith into a ruling power. Later, we will uncover which sacred relics may not be authentic, and why some truths were buried deeper than any tomb. Because the cross of Jesus is not just ancient wood. It is history, faith, and silence. Some relics were revealed to the world. Others were never meant to be found. Where was Jesus during the 3 days of his death? After the crucifixion, the body of Jesus was laid in a sealed tomb, guarded and watched by soldiers. To the world, everything seemed finished. But ancient scriptures suggest that death did not mean silence. While his body rested in the grave, early Christian writings affirm that his spirit descended to the realm of the dead, a place known as Sheol or Hades. This was not a land of punishment, but a realm of waiting, where the righteous souls of ancient times awaited the fulfillment of God's promise. According to these texts, Jesus entered this hidden domain not as a prisoner, but as a victor. He proclaimed freedom to the captives, revealing that death had been defeated. Darkness did not overpower him. Instead, his presence transformed the depths into a place of revelation and hope. Other traditions describe a cosmic confrontation, Jesus confronting the powers of death itself, breaking the gates that had held humanity since the beginning. What seemed like defeat on earth was, in truth, the final act of redemption unfolding beyond human sight. Then, on the 3rd day, the tomb was found empty. Not because Jesus had escaped death, but because death could not hold him. The story will continue in future chapters. Will we remember anything after death? Since the beginning of humanity, one question has followed every civilization. What happens when we die, and what, if anything, do we remember? The biblical view. In the Bible, death is not described as total emptiness. Ecclesiastes says that the dust returns to the earth, and the spirit returns to God. This suggests not erasure, but a return of consciousness to its source. Jesus tells the thief on the cross, "Today you will be with me in paradise." He does not say, "You will disappear," but "You will be with me." The biblical message implies that identity is not destroyed, it is transformed. Memory may no longer be human memory, but a memory of the soul, where what truly matters remains. The scientific perspective. Modern science studies death through the brain. Memory, scientists say, is stored in neural networks. When the brain shuts down, memories should vanish. Yet studies of near-death experiences raise disturbing questions. People who were clinically dead report vivid awareness, encounters, and a strong sense of self. Some researchers propose that consciousness may not be created by the brain, but filtered through it, like a signal through a receiver. If this is true, death does not end consciousness. It simply disconnects the receiver. The realm of fantasy. Ancient myths spoke of a place of remembrance. The Egyptians believed the heart preserved true memory. Other cultures claimed that after death, we remember who we loved, who went before us, and who we truly were. In these visions, we do not remember every detail. We remember our essence. A possible conclusion. Perhaps after death we will not remember names, faces, or dates. But we may remember love, choices, and the moments that shaped us. If the soul exists, it does not need memory as storage. It is memory itself. And maybe the real question is not, what will I remember after I die? But rather, what is worth remembering now? In the next chapters, we will explore what ancient scriptures truly say about the soul, what modern science reveals about consciousness beyond the brain, and why so many cultures describe similar journeys beyond life. For centuries, the Gospels remained silent about a troubling period, the lost years of Jesus. Between his childhood and his public ministry lies a gap, and within that gap, some traditions look toward Asia. Ancient accounts from India, Persia, and the Himalayas speak of a foreign sage young and austere who debated with Brahmins, walked alongside monks, and taught compassion, detachment, and inner truth. They called him Isa. Not a conqueror, but a seeker. According to these traditions, Jesus may have followed the Silk Road with caravans, crossing deserts and mountains. In Buddhist monasteries, he may have learned the value of silence. In Hindu temples, the idea that the divine dwells within the human being. Teachings that would later echo in his words, "Love your enemy, renounce the ego, awaken the spirit." There is no definitive proof. Only fragments, later manuscripts, local chronicles, and striking similarities between Eastern teachings and the sayings attributed to Jesus. For some historians, it is myth. For others, an uncomfortable possibility never fully explored. When Jesus returns to Judea, he is no longer just a carpenter. He speaks with authority, but without power. He teaches like one who has seen beyond his homeland. And his words, simple yet profound, seem to unite worlds separated by thousands of miles. Perhaps the years of Jesus in Asia are not meant to be proven, but understood. Not merely as a physical journey, but as a symbol, a bridge between cultures, religions, and ways of understanding the sacred. And so, the mystery remains, because sometimes what is not written reveals the most. The story continues in the next chapters. Joseph, the earthly father of Jesus, appears in the opening chapters of the Gospels. And then, in silence, he disappears. He is present at the most decisive moments of Jesus' childhood. The birth in Bethlehem, the flight into Egypt, the return to Nazareth, and that episode in the temple when Jesus was 12 years old. After that, the texts fall silent. When Jesus begins his public ministry, Joseph is no longer mentioned. At the crucifixion, while Mary stands at the foot of the cross, Joseph is absent. And that silence is not accidental. The most widely accepted explanation in biblical tradition and historical study is clear. Joseph had died years earlier. In first-century Jewish culture, the father was the legal protector of the family. If Joseph had been alive, he would have cared for Mary. Yet from the cross, Jesus entrusts his mother to the Apostle John. That gesture reveals a silent truth. Mary was already a widow. The Gospels do not describe Joseph's death. His mission had already been fulfilled. He was the guardian of the mystery, the man who protected the Messiah when he was still a vulnerable child. Joseph disappears from the texts as he lived, in humility, in obedience, without seeking recognition. Some ancient writings suggest he died in peace, accompanied by Jesus and Mary. Others see his absence as symbolic. When Jesus begins his divine mission, the earthly father steps aside. Joseph was not forgotten. He was hidden by history, because sometimes the most important figures are the ones who disappear. Before the end, the story will continue in future chapters. During the first centuries of Christianity, the story of Jesus was not contained in a single book. Many texts circulated among early communities, copied by hand, shared quietly, and read in secret. Some would later be accepted, others would be rejected. Thus, the apocryphal Gospels were born. These writings were not excluded by accident, but by choice. As the Church became more organized, an official canon was established, 4 Gospels that would define Christian belief. Other texts, although ancient and widely known, were left out. Not because all were false, but because they presented ideas that were different, controversial, or difficult to control. The apocryphal Gospels describe a different Jesus. Some portray him as a child with extraordinary powers, capable of giving life and taking it away. Others reveal secret teachings meant only for a few chosen followers. In these texts, Jesus does not only save, he teaches, challenges, and reveals deep knowledge about the human soul. Writings such as the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, and the Gospel of Judas present a more internal and spiritual message. Here, the kingdom of God is not found in the heavens, but within the individual. For centuries, these texts were labeled dangerous and heretical. Many were destroyed. Others survived, hidden in caves, deserts, and monasteries, waiting to be rediscovered. When they finally re-emerged, they revealed something unsettling. Early Christianity was far more diverse, complex, and human than generations had been taught. The apocryphal Gospels do not seek to replace the Bible. They remind us that at the beginning of faith, there were questions, debates, and hidden paths to understanding the divine. And this story is only the beginning. In the next chapters, we will explore these forbidden texts one by one. We will uncover what the Gospel of Thomas truly taught, why Mary Magdalene was silenced, and how Judas may have played a role far more complex than betrayal. Because what was excluded from the Bible still has much to say. The Guardian of Eden. After humanity was expelled from Eden, the garden was not abandoned. It was sealed. Between its eternal rivers and immortal trees stood a guardian, chosen to watch the boundary between the divine and the human world. She was a woman of striking beauty, impossible to ignore. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried ancient knowledge. She was dressed as a warrior, light armor of leather and forged metal, sacred symbols etched into her gear, and a sword that gleamed like fire at dawn. Her command was absolute. No one who lived outside Eden was ever to return. For generations, the exiled gazed toward the garden from afar, remembering it as a lost dream. The guardian watched them as well. She saw their suffering, their hunger, their fear, and something within her began to fracture. She understood both worlds. She knew Eden was not only perfection, but confinement. And beyond its borders, though pain ruled, freedom existed. One night, when the winds fell silent and the stars seemed to witness in secret, the guardian made a forbidden choice. She opened the gate. She allowed some to enter, and then return, carrying seeds, pure water, and forbidden knowledge. She did not act out of betrayal. She acted out of compassion. For a brief time, Eden breathed humanity once more. But every choice carries a cost. The forces that upheld eternal order discovered her act. The guardian was marked a traitor, not by humankind, but by the heavens themselves. Yet the damage was already done. The outer world changed. Humanity learned, endured, and grew stronger because of what she allowed them to take. Her name was erased from memory, lost to myth and silence. But some legends claim she still stands at Eden's threshold, sword in hand, watching not to prevent entry, but to decide who is worthy of returning. In the next chapters, we will uncover what happened when the divine order confronted the Guardian, how the gates of Eden were truly changed, and what price humanity paid for touching paradise once more. We will explore the war that followed her decision, the fall of the Guardian, and the secret she carried beyond Eden's borders. Because Eden was not lost by chance. It was protected, it was betrayed, and it was transformed forever. The story continues. Before Adam and Eve, humanity was already being watched. Long before the first pages of Genesis were written, the earth was not alone in the universe. From the depths of the stars came the Anunnaki, ancient beings of immense knowledge and power. They observed the planet from their advanced vessels, studying its lands, its oceans, and the fragile life that was beginning to awaken. In hidden laboratories beyond human sight, they shaped humanity's destiny. Inside chambers of glass and light, humans were created, observed, and refined. Flesh and spirit were studied as one. The Anunnaki were not merely visitors. They were architects of civilizations, teachers of kings, and guardians of forbidden knowledge. They walked among early humans as gods, and humanity worshipped them as such. But among all beings, one stood apart. He appeared as a man, yet carried eternity within him. Clothed in white robes woven with golden stars that flashed like lightning, crowned with gold and diamonds, Jesus Christ stood among them, not as a prisoner, not as a creation, but as the heir. His presence was calm, sovereign, and timeless. Anunnaki gathered around him in reverence, placing the crown upon his head, acknowledging his authority. Inside a vast celestial ship, they guided him toward the stars. Through immense transparent windows, the earth came to view, blue, alive, and fragile. The Anunnaki raised their hands and pointed toward the planet, revealing continents, oceans, and the future written in light. Holograms unfolded in the air, showing humanity's path: rise, fall, war, faith, and redemption. This was the moment of choice. The earth was not just a world. It was an inheritance. The Anunnaki had guided humanity's early steps, but they could not remain. Their time as gods would end. Their names would fade, their stories rewritten. They would become myths, angels, watchers, demons, hidden between the lines of sacred texts. And so, the divine plan was set into motion. Jesus would descend not as a ruler in the heavens, but as a servant among men. The crown would be replaced by a cross. Knowledge would be veiled as faith. Power would be hidden within sacrifice. The Garden of Eden was not the beginning. It was a reset. The serpent was not just temptation. It was knowledge. The gods were not erased. They were transformed. What humanity calls Genesis is not the first chapter. It is the surviving echo of a far older story. It was not an act of war. It was a decision. From the ancient heavens, the Watchers observed the earth in silence. They were neither gods nor men, but something in between, guardians of balance, witnesses of the experiment. Their purpose was not to rule, but to observe, not to interfere, not to become involved. But the earth changed, and so did they. They saw a world prepared, purified after the great fall, ready for a new creation. They saw hidden laboratories, living machines, and the design of a humanity still unfinished. And for the first time, they felt something that was never written into their mandate: compassion. When they descended, the sky opened like a wound. They did not fall as meteors, but as shadows. Their steps shook the land, and their presence altered the established order. Where there had only been observation, there was now contact. The watchers taught. They revealed fire, numbers, agriculture, and writing. They raised structures, aligned stones, and measured the heavens. But with knowledge came desire, and with desire, transgression. Those who were meant to watch without touching chose to remain. They sealed pacts. They took form. And they crossed a boundary that was never meant to be crossed. That was the true descent, not from heaven to earth, but from obedience to rebellion. From that moment on, the experiment was no longer under control. That in the next chapter, we will uncover the oath the Watchers broke, and how their decision gave birth to a new race that would change the fate of the world forever. Before the first human breath, the earth was already alive. Its skies were different, its waters deeper, its land shaped by forces no longer present. Ancient creatures walked freely across vast continents, and ecosystems flourished without fear. There was order, but not human order, a balance designed long before humanity was imagined. Hidden beneath layers of stone and time, structures once stood where no civilization should have existed. Perfect angles, impossible geometry, traces of intelligence erased by catastrophe or intention. This world did not belong to Adam. It belonged to something older. Some believe the earth was a testing ground, a place where life was shaped, observed, and corrected. Failures were buried, successes refined. Extinction was not an accident. It was a reset. When the old world fell, its memory was sealed beneath oceans and sediment. What remained was silence and preparation. Only after the earth was emptied, only after the world was made obedient, did the next phase begin. And then humanity was introduced. In the next chapter, we will uncover who watched this ancient world fall, and why the earth had to be cleansed before Adapa was created. Before human history began, the Watchers descended. Ancient, luminous beings carrying knowledge far beyond Earth, they observed a young and violent planet. Later texts would call them sons of God, but their mission was precise: to create a being capable of working, obeying, and adapting. Thus, Project Adapa was born. The Garden of Eden was their first testing environment. Not a paradise, but a closed system designed to control every variable. Stable climate, endless food, no predators, no scarcity, and above all, no choice. Adapa was introduced as the first successful hybrid. His body was perfected, but his mind was restricted. The Watchers understood that full awareness would introduce a dangerous variable: disobedience. Knowledge, therefore, was sealed away. The forbidden tree was not divine punishment. It was a switch, a point of access to moral awareness, self-consciousness, and the ability to question one's creators. One Watcher, later remembered as the Serpent, recognized the flaw in the design. A being without knowledge could never evolve. Breaking protocol, he gave Adapa what was forbidden: awakening. The transformation was immediate. Adapa did not die. He thought. He felt. He feared, and he understood. Eden reacted like any laboratory when an experiment escapes control. The system shut down. access was revoked. The expulsion was not a moral curse, but a permanent disconnection. Outside the garden, true humanity began. Labor, suffering, but also freedom. Project Adapa had failed. Or perhaps, it had succeeded in a way the Watchers never intended. In the next chapter, we will uncover what happened when some Watchers refused to leave Earth, and how their defiance reshaped the destiny of humankind forever. Before the law was written and before temples were built, there appeared a man without origin or ending. His name was Melchizedek, king of Salem and priest of the Most High God. He did not rise from a lineage, nor was his priesthood inherited. He came quietly, clothed in humility, yet carried an authority that silenced warriors and bent kings to reverence. Where others ruled by strength, he ruled by peace. When Abraham returned from battle, weary and stained by war, Melchizedek met him, not with weapons, but with bread and wine. In that simple offering was a blessing older than sacrifice, a covenant before blood was demanded. And Abraham, father of nations, bowed his head and offered a tenth, recognizing a priesthood greater than his own promise. Then, as suddenly as he appeared, Melchizedek vanished. No record of his birth, no account of his death, only a shadow left behind, pointing forward through the ages. His priesthood was not bound to time. It whispered of a future grace, of a priest who would come not from the altar of stone, but from eternity itself. A priest who would bring peace, not through law or fear, but through love. Melchizedek remained, a mystery written between the lines of Scripture, a sign that God's plan was unfolding long before humanity understood it. And his story was not the end, it was the beginning. The kingdom of the serpent women at the feet of the Colossus of Rhodes. In the shadow of the Colossus of Rhodes, where bronze watched over the sea and humanity believed it ruled the world, there existed a kingdom never carved in stone and never spoken aloud. Ancient chronicles refer to them as the serpent women, beings born from the union of the human and the primordial. From the waist up, they were women of commanding gaze and unwavering voice. From the waist down, their bodies were serpentine, powerful, scaled, eternal. They were not monsters. They were rulers. Their hidden kingdom stretched beneath the earth and along the cliffs, protected by tunnels, carved symbols, and rituals older than the Olympian gods themselves. The serpent women governed with ancient wisdom, mastering the knowledge of the land, the stars, and the cycles of life. Merchants arriving in Rhodes whispered of figures that moved with impossible speed, guardians emerging from caverns whenever danger approached. Some believed the Colossus was not merely a statue, but a seal, raised to conceal and restrain the power of this forgotten realm. When the Colossus fell after the great earthquake, the world believed a wonder had been lost. But certain texts claim that with its collapse, the balance was broken, and the kingdom of the serpent women chose to vanish, taking its secrets into the depths of history. Today, fragments of manuscripts, carved symbols, and forbidden legends suggest that this kingdom was not a myth, but a civilization deliberately erased from human memory. The story will continue in future chapters.
Warriors of the depths, the hour of reckoning is upon us!
We are ready for the Empire!